start a timer, and then it'll be on. Now I have options to make it that my tools will go away. So I really don't need my tools because I'm not going to edit anything. But when I'm ready to stop, I'll just hit the stop button up here. But if you pay attention, then you'll see me walk through the process. So, all right. So that was just a little disclaimer that we're recording in a different format. And here's the picture from the little small ceremony, and that's of course my son in the with those shoes. Everybody's talking about those shoes, and his wife now next to him, and those are my children. To I guess to the right, that's my oldest and my daughter, and then we have the bride, her sister, and her brother. And thank you so much. I just wanted to share a little bit about, since this is a journey, we're all somewhat taken together and just share about what's going on with me in the process, that I'm not just having the time. I mean, I am having the time of my life, but if anyone's ever participated in a wedding or even, you know, got married, then that's work. It's work, and then you have that little time of fun that goes along with it. All right, so there's again an agenda, and I just put that on there not for me to read it to you, but just to remind myself on what I have to present to you, as well as when you reflect back on what you learned today, that you'll be able to have that somewhat of a resource. And if I ever miss anything on that checklist, feel free to point that out to me. I have no problem with that, and the critique, and that just reminds me of that. I've asked for some feedback, and I did receive some wonderful feedback. I want to make sure that everyone gives me feedback, because that's really the big picture for me. Because once I submit my case study, then of course Google will review what you had to say about me, and I take that to heart, just because it allows for me to become a better trainer. So that's the purpose in me wanting to do this. And thanks again for the congratulations, and thank you so much for the wonderful comments. I truly appreciate that. All right, so our objective just moves throughout the sessions, just with the various different Google apps, and maybe some of the content that comes from the training center, to make sure that you are aware of what we're covering for the day. But I'm not going to digress and stay on this slide. So I looked at the feedback, and then, of course, I have some feedback to give from what the training session number one was really giving me. So in regards to one, I had a question, I had some emails. Of course, I looked at the survey, and let me throw that out again. I'll post it a couple of more times, and I'll put it in Google Classroom. But that's really all I'm not getting financially compensated, and that's not what I'm looking for. But I'm really needing the feedback. That's the big plus for me. So in regards to account creation, as you're going to go into the teacher center, and I'll point that out again a little later. If you've already created an account on one email before, I would just suggest for you to go back to that one. If you don't remember, then I guess then that really doesn't matter, because some people have mentioned that they've gone through the process or attempted prior. So as you're going back into that, take credit for the work you've already done, because it basically keeps track of everything that you've done in the past. So do not create another one. Use the email if you don't remember. Uh, I'm sure that there's ways to, retrieve passwords and that nature. I can't even go into detail, because I'm pretty much logged in permanently on all my Google accounts, and my reset is on my phone. So passwords are not really a problem for me, because I usually try to keep the same. And then of course I've had some problems with that, and I let my phone remember it for me. I mean, we're so dependent on technology nowadays, it's very difficult to avoid some type of repetition, but that's another conversation. So keep that account. If you're having issues with getting confused or off track, and I do apologize about Google's mishap not recording the whole entire session, but please utilize the recordings from now on, because This is really, and this is part of the prerequisites, and everybody didn't get to see the informational flyer for the prerequisites. This is really a requirement that you have certain um, basic knowledge of technology, already to start with. Not saying that no one in here doesn't, but just, if you're wondering why I do go faster, at a faster pace, and I really basically, because for students, of course, I wouldn't be able to do this because this will create a havoc at the end because I'm just going just that fast. But we only have a couple of hours. It's almost like I feel guilty for anything that I say that's not on topic because it takes away from something that I could really give you. And if you have any individual questions, stay after for the Q&A. Email me. Let me know something on the forum. I have no problem answering any questions. That's what I'm here for. And those of you that, if I miss something, remind me. I don't mind. I'm a teacher, so the kids are going to remind you if they really want it. So I apologize if I didn't catch it. I know it may have been one or two that I didn't. And I appreciate those uh, participants that followed up with me. And from here on out, I just want to extend that invitation again, and then I'll get back to the time portion in just a second, and I'll go over to the trainer feedback. The completing activity is basically, and I've had a conversation with someone about this. This is on you. It's self-driven. I definitely have to already stay on students about completing their activities, and I definitely wouldn't do that for an adult just because we are somewhat in the, we're postgraduate at this point in time. So at that point, it's just if something that you feel is necessary, then go ahead for the practice of it. Go ahead and follow through. And I will check for, I'll give you feedback. Once I see there's a few people that turned in things to me, I'll go and look at those and I'll give you feedback. If you just want to do it for practice on your own without the feedback, don't submit it. But and I had a blank right there for a reason, and now it just popped in my head because I could not remember it. Now, so, since we are always on the teacher end of submitting work, and that's what made me think about it. When we're submitting work, and I tell the students all the time, in Google Classroom, of course, there is a section available, and I'll have to go and look at. Let me do it now. I'm thinking about it. So of course, I'm the teacher in this Google Classroom, but I'll have to find one. And you may know this already, but I'll just go over it really, really quickly. Anyway, so the last thing that I did, I took a. Where did they put it? I was a participant in a. Maybe someone took it down. I don't know. I'll take the Chromebook book. I was trying to find one where there's work actually assigned, and there was no work actually assigned, so that makes it difficult. So if you know what I'm talking about, you should be a participant in a class that you have to submit something for me to be able to show you that I don't have any. They've booted me out of the classes that I finished. Okay, well, that much for that resource. But basically, there will be a section when you are looking back at the activity. And since I'm the creator of this, but within the activity, oh, here we go. So right here is where you should submit any work. And students do that quite a bit where they turn in things through sharing. I would suggest for you always to tell your students to not do that just because their work disappears within your drive. And if you have a drive anything like mine, you will never that the only reason I can find students' work like that is if I go ahead and do a drive search with their name and the name of the title of the activity, or I have to dig through my email. So my suggestion always is if you're taking a class or you're teaching a class, make sure that you're aware and the student is aware that the best way to turn in is through this. So I'm not fussing or anything like that. I'm just letting you know that way because there's a couple people that submitted work to me like that, it's easier for you as well. Because there might be students that have submitted work to you and you're not even aware of because they're constantly sharing the work with you, or even students that are still requesting assignments to have access and they have a copy already in your Google Classroom. But I just want to make sure I'm not going over top of anyone's head by talking about so many different various things, so fast paced. Because I know I'm all over the place, but I want to make sure I remember to tell you that. Now, keep in mind the certification does not come from me or Clayton County or any district for that nature. They don't have the capability of doing that. So really at that point, it's what you really want out of it. This is my plea to you to consider what you really want out of this training because it is different. The training could be something to build your portfolio. It could also be there just for you to work on certification because there's some technology liaisons in here, or you can just be here because you need to know some more about Google, and that's when nothing wrong with those being individuals. Uh, um, Reasons, but my suggestion is to be a combination of the three. Because if you're not attaining the training, like the actual skill, because I'm guilty as charged. I've taken classes before that were so almost easy for me that I didn't get the full potential out of the class. I was able to get the certification, but I was really not, because this is fundamentals, but you want to be able to be an expert at something if you're needing to utilize it as a tool that will help you in your profession. So my suggestion is to choose what is really what you're trying to get out of this. Because if it's just a certification, it's not the it's that's this is not it. I mean, I can't even express it because it is so intricate that you can literally get lost in the mix. But this is when we're coming to the time aspect. Some people have said about the timing. It was like, of course, this is the first for me with the breakout groups. So time wise, I'm learning with you, but then I also have to put a time cap on it, or we'll be online forever. So this is something I found online. I thought was the neatest thing right here. This is exactly how this class is and how students feel about your class. Sometimes depending on if you uh, whatever you teach. And that's how my students feel about me teaching AP. And this is how you may feel about me teaching this training.
Grab my hand. Grab my hand. Now we wait. We wait for that. Now we go. Keep holding my hand. Keep holding my hand. Keep moving. Keep your feet. Why is your hand slipping? Grab my hand. Grab my hand. Now we wait. We wait for that. Now.
Oh,
Grab my hand. Grab my hand. Now we wait. We wait for that. Now we go. Keep holding my hand. Keep holding my hand. Keep moving. Keep your feet. Watch it.